I heard a loud crash at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. I rushed to my window and saw 3 men in fake uniforms smashing my front gate with sledgehammers. They wore cheap badges that said HOA enforcement, but I knew right away they were fake. Instead of calling 911, I texted my brother's biker crew who were hanging out just 2 blocks away. These fake HOA guys had no idea what was coming their way. Before we start the story, please comment down from which country are you watching and don't forget to subscribe. My name is Mike and I've lived in Pinewood Estates for 5 years now. It's a nice neighborhood with good people. We do have a real HOA, but they're mostly old folks who send letters about grass height or fence paint. They don't show up with sledgehammers and angry faces. I grabbed my phone and took pictures as the men continued to destroy my gate. The wood splintered and cracked as they hit it again and again. The tall one with a buzz cut pointed at my house and yelled, "This is just the start. Pay up or we'll be back for more." That's when I knew for sure this was a scam. No real HOA talks about paying up, like some mob movie. I texted my brother Tom, "Fake HOA guys destroying my gate. Bring the crew ASAP." Tom runs the Black Eagles Motorcycle Club. They're not outlaws or criminals, just guys who love bikes and look out for each other. Many are veterans like Tom who served in Afghanistan. They meet every Saturday at Joe's Diner 2 blocks from my house. The fake HOA guys started walking up my driveway. The one in front held what looked like a fake bill with way too many zeros on it. "Your property isn't up to code. That'll be $5,000 to avoid further enforcement," he said with a smirk. I stepped onto my porch but stayed behind my door. "You guys aren't from any HOA. I want you off my property now." The buzz cut guy laughed. "Or what? You calling the cops? By the time they get here we might have to check your living room for violations too." He patted something under his jacket that looked scarily like a gun. My hands shook but I tried to stay calm. "I don't have that kind of money," I said, stalling for time. I could hear distant motorcycle engines growing louder. "Then we'll take it in valuables. TV, computer, whatever you got," said the shortest guy who had a scar across his cheek. Just as they reached my front steps, the rumble of motorcycles filled the street. 8 bikes pulled up, blocking the fake HOA guy's van. Tom was in front, with 7 of his club brothers right behind him. They weren't small men and they didn't look happy. The color drained from Buzzcut's face. "What the hell is this?" Tom walked up, his boots crunching on the broken pieces of my gate. At 6 feet 4 inches with arms covered in tattoos, my brother can be pretty scary when he wants to be. "This is my little brother's house. And you boys are trespassing." "We're HOA enforcement," Scarface said, but his voice cracked. His hand moved toward his jacket. "Don't," warned one of Tom's friends, a guy named Bear who used to be a state trooper. "Whatever you're reaching for, it's not worth it." "HOA, huh?" Tom looked at their fake badges. "Funny, I know Susan who runs the real HOA. Want me to call her right now?" The third guy, who hadn't spoken yet, suddenly backed away. "This is a mistake. We got the wrong house." "No mistake," I said, finally stepping out onto my porch now that I had backup. "You guys are running a scam, threatening people and destroying property. And it's all on video." I held up my phone to show I'd been recording. Bear pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the actual police now. Real badges are about to show up." The fake HOA guys looked at each other, then made a dash for their van. But they didn't get far. 2 of Tom's friends had already moved their bikes to block the van in. "You're not going anywhere," Tom said. "Mike, show me that video." I played the recording, which clearly showed them smashing my gate and making threats. There was even a moment where Buzzcut's jacket opened enough to show what looked like a gun holster. "Armed threats and destruction of property," Bear said. "That's serious jail time." The police arrived 10 minutes later. Officer Wilson was someone I knew from community meetings. He took one look at my smashed gate and the 3 men surrounded by bikers and raised an eyebrow. "These men claimed to be from the HOA and demanded $5,000, I explained, showing him the video. "They destroyed my gate and threatened to enter my home." "We've had reports of this scam in other neighborhoods," Officer Wilson said. "They target areas with HOAs, hoping people will be scared enough to pay without questioning." The police searched the fake HOA guys and found 2 unregistered guns, fake badges, and a list of addresses in our neighborhood. They handcuffed all 3 and put them in the back of the police cars. "You'll need to come down to the station to give a formal statement," Officer Wilson told me. "This video is good evidence." After the police left with the scammers, Tom and his friends stayed to help me secure my property. Bear examined what was left of my gate. "They did a number on this," he said. "But we can fix it." Tom put his arm around my shoulders. "That's why we have a club, little brother. Not just for riding bikes but for looking out for each other. I invited the guys inside for some beers. My house wasn't anything fancy, just a small 3-bedroom I bought after my divorce 2 years ago. The living room had my old couch, a TV, and some framed photos of me and Tom as kids. "Nice place," said Ray, one of the club members who worked as a carpenter. "Good bones. But your security needs work." "Never thought I'd need much," I admitted. "Neighborhood always seemed safe." Bear sat at my kitchen table, still in his leather jacket with the Black Eagles patch. "These scammers are getting smarter. They know which neighborhoods have HOAs and they use that fear. Most people just pay up rather than risk getting in trouble." "How did you know they weren't real?" asked Diesel, the youngest club member. I shrugged. "Our real HOA lady is named Susan. She's 72 and bakes cookies for meetings. These guys looked like they'd stepped out of a bad mob movie." Tom laughed. "Plus Mike here grew up with me. He can smell trouble a mile away." We spent the next hour making plans. Ray said he could get materials for a new, stronger gate at a discount through his work. Bear suggested adding cameras at the front of my property. Tom just kept saying how proud he was that I hadn't panicked. "Not every day you stand up to armed thugs," he said. Truth is, I had been scared. If Tom and his crew hadn't been nearby, things might have gone very differently. Those fake HOA guys had guns and bad intentions. I couldn't stop thinking about what would have happened if I'd been at work, or if my ex-wife and kids had been visiting. "You look worried," Tom said when the others went outside to check my broken gate. "Just thinking. These guys had a list of houses. They're targeting people in this neighborhood." Tom nodded slowly. "That's why we need to spread the word. This isn't just about your gate anymore." The next morning, I woke up to the sound of hammering. I looked out my window and saw Tom and 3 of his club brothers already working on my gate. Ray had brought wood and tools. Diesel was mixing concrete for new posts. I threw on some clothes and went outside with coffee for everyone. "You guys didn't have to start so early. Wanted to get it done today," Tom said. "Plus, your neighbors are curious." He was right. Several neighbors had come out to see what was happening. Mrs. Peterson from next door, Mr. Chin from across the street, and even old Mr. Garcia from the corner house were watching from their driveways. I walked over to speak with them. "Had some trouble yesterday. Fake HOA enforcers tried to scam me." Mrs. Peterson gasped. "Was it 3 men? One tall with a buzz cut?" My stomach dropped. "Yes, exactly." "Did they come to your house too?" She nodded, wringing her hands. 2 weeks ago. They said my flower beds violated codes and I needed to pay $2,500 or they'd put a lien on my house." "Did you pay?" I asked, already knowing the answer from her face. "Yes," she whispered. I was scared. They knew I lived alone since my Harold passed. Mr. Chin stepped forward. "They came to me too. Said my fence was the wrong height. I paid $3,000 because they threatened to report me to the city." My blood boiled. These scammers had been working our neighborhood for weeks, targeting the vulnerable. Mr. Garcia, who barely spoke English, admitted he'd paid $4,000 when they threatened to report him to immigration. I called Officer Wilson right away and explained what I'd learned. He asked me to gather everyone who'd been scammed at my house that afternoon so they could give statements. By noon, word had spread through the neighborhood. People began stopping by, some just curious, others with their own stories about the fake HOA enforcers. Tom and his crew kept working on my gate while I set up chairs in my backyard for an impromptu neighborhood meeting. Susan, the actual HOA president, arrived looking flustered. "I've been getting calls all morning about this. I had no idea this was happening in our community." By the time Officer Wilson arrived with his partner, 15 of my neighbors had gathered in my yard. One by one they told their stories. The scammers had collected over $50,000 from my neighbors in just 3 weeks. They targeted elderly residents, people who lived alone, and immigrants who might be afraid to question authority. "These men are in custody now," Officer Wilson assured everyone. "But we need your statements to make sure they stay locked up." As people gave their statements, I noticed something changing in our neighborhood. Neighbors who had barely spoken before were exchanging phone numbers. Susan was creating a new system for HOA communications so everyone would know when real notices were coming. Mr. Chin offered to translate everything into Mandarin for the Chinese families on our street. Tom pulled me aside during all this. "See what you started? Sometimes it takes something bad to bring people together." By evening, my new gate was finished. It was stronger than the old one, with metal reinforcements hidden in the wood. Ray had even installed a small camera that connected to my phone. "No one's getting through this without you knowing," he said proudly. The neighborhood meeting turned into an impromptu cookout. People brought food and drinks, Kids played in yards that normally stayed empty, and for the first time since I'd moved here I felt like I belonged. Susan made an announcement as everyone ate. From now on we're changing how our HOA works. No more anonymous complaints. No more surprise inspections. Everything will be done by certified mail with plenty of notice. And no more cash payments, added Bear, who had stayed to help with security advice. The news vans showed up the next day. Our neighborhood story had gotten out. I stood in front of my new gate with Tom and Susan beside me, telling reporters what had happened. These scammers picked the wrong neighborhood, I said into the microphones. They thought we were all separate, easy targets. They didn't count on us coming together. The story ran on the evening news and spread to other neighborhoods. Within days, police in nearby towns reported similar scams being uncovered as people began questioning anyone claiming to be from their HOA. The district attorney called me personally to discuss the case. The 3 men who'd smashed my gate were part of a larger group running similar scams across the state. With all the evidence from our neighborhood plus my video, they were facing serious charges. We're looking at multiple counts of fraud, extortion, destruction of property, impersonating officials and weapons charges, the DA explained. They won't be bothering anyone for a long time. A week after the incident, our neighborhood held its first official watch meeting. Tom and several of his club brothers came as special guests. They gave a talk about basic security and looking out for neighbors. A criminal looks for easy targets, Tom explained to the group. They want people who are alone, afraid, or won't fight back. The best defense is community. Know your neighbors. Watch out for each other. Make sure the bad guys know you're not alone. Mrs. Peterson, who had lost $2,500 to the scammers, stood up bravely. I was ashamed I fell for their trick. I didn't tell anyone because I felt stupid. You weren't stupid, I assured her. They were professionals who knew exactly how to scare people. But next time, she said with new determination, I'm calling Mike and his biker friends. Everyone laughed, but there was truth in her words. Tom's club had become unofficial guardians of our neighborhood. They made a point to ride through every few days, waving to kids and keeping an eye out for trouble. The court case moved surprisingly fast. With so many victims willing to testify and clear video evidence, the fake HOA guys didn't stand a chance. They tried to make a deal, offering to reveal their other accomplices in exchange for lighter sentences. I attended every day of the trial with different neighbors. We wanted the judge to see the community these men had terrorized. When it was my turn to testify, I described not just what they did to my gate, but how their actions had affected our entire neighborhood. These men didn't just damage property, I told the court. They damaged people's sense of safety in their own homes. They took advantage of good people who respect rules and fear getting in trouble. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair, listened carefully to all the testimony. When it came time for sentencing, she showed no mercy. This court views these crimes with particular disgust, she said. You deliberately targeted vulnerable members of society, the elderly, immigrants, and people living alone. You used fear of authority to extort money and threatened violence when challenged. The 3 men who came to my house each received 10 years in prison. The leader of their ring, who never came to my house but organized everything, got 15 years. Most importantly, the judge ordered them to pay back every penny they had stolen, plus additional compensation for emotional distress. As the news of the sentencing spread through our neighborhood, people began to relax again. Kids played outside more. Elderly neighbors sat on porches in the evening. Our community had been shaken, but we'd come out stronger. Susan implemented all the changes she'd promised. The HOA now communicated through an official app, with photos of authorized representatives and clear procedures for any enforcement. No more surprise visits, no more cash demands. The story even reached the state legislature. A new law was proposed, the Pinewood Bill, they called it, making it a specific crime to impersonate HOA officials or use homeowner associations for fraudulent purposes. 3 months after that Saturday when my gate was smashed, our neighborhood held a block party. The street was closed off, grills were fired up, and kids played games on lawns that no longer separated neighbors but brought them together. Tom and his entire club showed up, parking their motorcycles in a neat row at the end of the street. Children who had once been scared of the loud bikes now asked for rides around the block. Parents who might have avoided bikers before now offered them food and thanks. Susan presented Tom and the Black Eagles with a special plaque, Honorary Guardians of Pinewood Estates. Never thought I'd see the day when our HOA was giving awards to a motorcycle club. Tom laughed as he accepted it. I stood back, watching it all with a strange mix of feelings. Something terrible had almost happened that day. If Tom hadn't been nearby, if I hadn't recognized the scam, if those men had picked a different house first, things could have gone very differently. As the party continued into the evening, Mrs. Peterson came to sit beside me. You know what's funny? I lived next to you for 3 years and barely knew your name before all this happened. I know, I admitted. I wasn't much of a neighbor. None of us were, she said. We all just lived in our boxes, afraid to bother each other. It took something awful to remind us we're supposed to be a community. Later that night, as the party wound down, Tom found me sitting on my front steps, looking at my new gate. Penny for your thoughts, little brother? I shrugged. Just thinking about how things work out. Those guys thought they picked an easy target when they came to my house. Tom laughed. They had no idea you had a biker crew on standby. But it wasn't just the bikers that stopped them, I said. It was everyone coming together afterward. That's what really made the difference. Tom nodded, looking out at our neighborhood as the last partygoers headed home. Children's bikes lay forgotten on lawns. Empty plates and cups waited to be cleaned up tomorrow. Porch lights glowed warmly up and down the street. You know, he said thoughtfully, maybe that's what those fake HOA guys really gave this neighborhood. They thought they were taking something, money, security, peace of mind. But in the end, they gave everyone here something much more valuable. What's that? I asked. Tom gestured to the homes around us, where neighbors now knew each other's names, watched out for each other's children, and stood together against those who would harm them. Community, he said simply. They gave you back your community. I looked at my strong new gate with its hidden camera and reinforced posts. Beyond it, I could see Mrs. Peterson waving from her porch, Mr. Chin carrying his sleeping child home, and Officer Wilson doing one last patrol before heading home. Those fake HOA cops had smashed my gate, but they had no idea what they were really breaking open, the walls that had kept us all separate for too long. They didn't know I had a biker crew nearby, ready to stand up for what's right. And now neither they nor anyone else would forget it.